Well, I'm grateful to be here. It's always wonderful to be here with you guys. I think it's fair for me to introduce myself a little bit more so you guys actually trust what I have to say. But first off, we are talking about healthy cross-gender relationships, and I'm not here to give you advice on how to ask a girl out. I'm not here to tell you how to find a wife or how to find a husband. I'm not here to answer those kinds of questions. At least, I'm not intending to. If somehow the Spirit speaks to you in some mysterious way, well, then so be it. But that's not my intention. Now I hope that you're not like all looking for that, like, God, you're going to tell me, like, I'm marrying this person. I hope that you're not looking for that tonight. I want to introduce myself a little bit. It should be working just a second. Well, that hurts. Okay. I can just use that.
Do you ever have any
Sorry about this. So, I was born Daniel Gordon Huang. Gordon was after a missionary in Taiwan who led my mother to Christ. My Chinese name is Huang De Zhang. And I am 29 years old. I was born in Oxnard, California, grew up in Camarillo, in Southern California, in the Ventura County coastal area. Grew up close to the beach, actually, and so being here is brutal. I did graduate from Northwestern, class of 2000. I was a biology major. Go figure. How many of you are bio majors? It's okay to admit it, okay, guys? How many of you are? All right. One person. Are y'all ashamed or what? I mean, come on. Nothing to be ashamed about. I'm currently a graduate student at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, working on my master's degree, and I'm also a minister with University Christian Fellowship, who I've been with for the last 7 years, I am married. That's a picture of my wife and my son. This is his first Christmas. He was born January 3rd of last year. There's us in California. He's kind of chubby. I'm sharing this picture with you because some of you had asked, would you be able to bring your kid with you? And we actually have guests at our home today, and it is past his bedtime at 8 o'clock, so. And he's actually sitting there with my guitar case. And that's him being all cute. That's what he does. I have had one marriage. That's Alice Millar Chapel, by the way, who got married back there. I've had 2 dating relationships, one of which was my wife. I've had 2 pseudo-dating relationships. Y'all know what that is, okay? It's like everybody knows that you two are together, but like you aren't really dating, and not official, but for all intents and purposes you might as well be. And I've been in at least 3 really unhealthy relationships with girls. And they weren't all romantically related, some of them were just unhealthy friendships, but I've been in at least 3, and these are the ones I'm aware of, okay? There are probably more that I'm aware of. So we're talking about healthy cross-gender relationships today. And, well, you might want to know, well, how am I coming into this topic, and what's the basis of this kind of conversation? And the first thing that really comes to me is I come in with this premise, that the way we form relationships today, the way that you and I relate to one another, not just cross-gender, but in all sorts of relations, but especially cross-gender, the way that we form those relationships today affect the rest of our lives. In other words, if you don't learn from the mistakes that we make, or we're uncareful about the things that we do, it does affect the rest of our life, whether we like it or not. A second premise that I come into this topic with is that men and women are co-image bearers of God, designed for interdependence. And what this really means to me is that men and women are designed with inherent dignity, worthy of respect, worthy to be treated as our equals, and worthy to be treated well. And I believe that, really. And I believe that we're created for interdependence. Those of you that are familiar with Bible stories know that in the beginning, when God is creating human beings, the words that are given to us is that it's not good for man to be alone. And that there is a sort of interconnectedness that's by design. And the second thing is that healthy relationships improve our health. And you guys can attest to that. You've been in bad friendships or bad relationships. It's bad for your physical health. You get tired and everything. It improves the health of our community. So as we are functioning together as a fellowship, let's say, and there's healthy relationships abound, it increases the health of the community itself. And lastly, it improves the strength of our witness. And we'll talk a little bit about those things in a little bit. I want to frame our time together by telling you my story, pretty much. This is what we're going to do today, is I'm going to tell you my story. And I'm not telling you my story to say, hey, look at me, my story is normative for everyone, everybody's story should be like mine, or that I want to necessarily point you guys to my life to say that this is a model of how you should live. That's not my point at all. Rather, I think that there's some things that happen in my story, in my journey, that may reflect some of the key things that I think that we should talk about, especially the good and the bad that we bring into cross-gender relationships. And so the first stage, really, is discovering, for me, discovering girls. And actually, it's discovering hormones. In junior high, you guys just think back to junior high. And I hope you all can laugh at yourselves, because it was just an awful time. It was an awful life stage to be in junior high. Now some of you, you may be ashamed to admit it, you didn't hit puberty by then, and so everything's all going around, you're like, But those of you that are sort of engaged, you're like, things are out of control, and you have to somehow live with the fact that life is just becoming very, very strange. And, you ask the question, well, how is this a stage, and how does this affect the way that we relate with one another? Well, for me, it began, as I said, in junior high. It was the time that I not only realized that there were actually girls there, and they did have cooties or anything like that, but they were actually attractive and downright wonderful people. Before that, you don't really realize that. But once things really kick in, you're like, wow, there's girls. And that's really nice. You start to think about these things, and I don't, you guys gotta loosen up. Some of you are like, loosen up, right? It was a really strange time for me. It's a time when, you and I are driven to do all sorts of really bizarre things. And I don't think that we consciously decide to do this. Here derived by what I would call teen angst. Right, here's a nice picture of teen angst. You're shocked, you're kind of awkward looking, and everything. Some of you are like, I don't look like that, It's a time that's characterized by this angst. And there's several types, that go through this period. Okay? For guys, there's Mr. Smooth, right? The guy that knows how to talk to everyone. The guy who's really smooth, friends with everybody, friends with,